Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to tonight's edition of NTV Europe's Talking Point. In our studios today, we have a lady who has helped the development and culture of Bangladeshi literature and its translation into English. She is Emma De Costa, a consultant, a program officer of Commonwealth Foundation. Thank you for wading through the traffic of London on a Friday evening and making it to our studios today. Emma, how are you today?
I'm very good, and thank you very much for having me on the show.
Not
again.
at all.
Yes.
Not at all. We are here for the same purpose and the same aim, that to promote Bangladeshi culture, Bangladeshi literature, Bangladeshi traditions, and also so that people in this country can learn a little more about Bangladesh. Your work at Commonwealth Foundation, I know that you are program officer, a consultant, but you have been involved in this translation project in Bangladesh and also in other countries, isn't it?
Yes, Bangladesh is the first place that we've been involved with translation in such a way, but we're moving on to Tanzania to a Kiswahili translation project after this. But it's all part of the work of Commonwealth Writers, which is the cultural program of the Commonwealth Foundation. And we have a number of projects, and translation is just one aspect of our work.
Right. You have been working with the foundation, Commonwealth Foundation, since 1995. See? And what really attracted you to this kind of challenging, how did it start?
I came into the Commonwealth Foundation as a consultant, and I was with the foundation for many years as a consultant, and I worked on different kinds of art forms, actually. I came in to manage some arts residencies, international.
You have curated exhibitions?
That was when I worked at the Commonwealth Institute. I curated exhibitions. In fact, I did one called Trends in Bengal Art many years ago, 1986, I think, and also Crafts of Bangladesh. But I'd never had the chance to go to Bangladesh.
And
with
in
those
2005, Diaspora for Literature or something, isn't it?
Indeed, yes. I curated, I worked on a conference called Diaspora Literature Conference in London. But that was when I was freelance. And at the same time, I worked for the foundation. And in 2012, I became a full-time member of staff with the Commonwealth Foundation. And that coincided with the beginnings of the Commonwealth Writers Programme.
Right. The diaspora literature, did it include Bengali literature as well?
That was many years ago.
In 2005 something?
In 2005. I don't remember it including Bengali literature, but it may have done. It certainly had people from all over the world who are based here in London talking, writers, poets, storytellers.
Commonwealth, this is like a legacy of the good old days of empire, isn't it? See? And I know you are not connected with the political part of it, but the literary, the culture, the social, the musical, the art world. See? So you said that you curated the exhibition. Was that for Commonwealth?
That was the Commonwealth Institute. That was many years ago. I didn't curate either of those exhibitions. They would have been curated back in the subcontinent.
What does a normal day involve your work? I mean,
with Commonwealth Writers, it's very varied. It depends on the projects which I'm working on at the time. At the moment, there is the Bangla English translation project, which has culminated in this book, which you're going to talk with Pushpita later, the Book of Dhaka. So that is ongoing at the moment, and I'm planning the workshop in Tanzania, which is going to be at the beginning of November, so that in all these projects, we have local partners who work on the ground, finding the participants and working out all the logistics and working out their needs and what they need to get out of the workshop. But I'm sort of behind the scenes, trying to make things happen.
Right, I see that, yes.
And then,
what was your involvement with this book, the Book of Dhaka?
So our involvement, Commonwealth Writers' involvement, came almost when we first went to Bangladesh in 2012 and went to the Dhaka Literary Festival, which was the Hay Festival then, and heard many, many discussions about translation from translators, from authors, and about how important translation is to get Bangla writing onto a world stage, and the need for more good fiction translators. And then in 2013, we met with English Pen, and together we just had an idea for a very small project, which would be like one fiction workshop and maybe a chapbook of a few translated stories to come out of it. But that all changed when I went back to Dhaka and went to the launch of the Dhaka Translation Centre and met with Kaiser Haq, the director, and also Kadimul Islam from Bengal Lights Books. And it became a completely different project, really, from that moment, because we had the Dhaka Translation Centre, who's keen to host the workshops, and we had a publisher who's keen to publish the book. And then English Pen brought in the British Centre for Literary Translation, who pioneered a form of translation workshop called a consensus translation workshop, whereby the participants translate together pieces of text with the author present. And also, at some point...
Physically, the authors were present there.
Yes, so in our first workshop in Dhaka, Shaheen Akhtar was the author. They translated her short story called Limits of Love. And she wasn't there all the time, but she came every day to answer people's questions. And it's quite a brave author, because your story gets kind of taken apart and everything is questioned. You know, why did you choose that tense? Why did you use that word? Why did you use that metaphor? And there's just so many...
But she had written in Bengali, isn't it?
She'd written it in Bengali, yes. And the workshop was led by one of the top Bengali translators.
It must have been like post-mortem.
I think sometimes for writers it makes them think about the story in a different way, and how people read it and how it might translate into another language. But Aranava Sinha, the Bengali translator, led that workshop. And he again is the reason why we've got to this stage with this book. And then in the second workshop, so the first workshop was just that, translating that short story. And then after that, everybody was keen to find a UK publisher. Comma Press came on board, which has published the Book of Dhaka, and Ra Page from Comma Press. So together, everybody involved started to talk about a selection of stories for the anthology.
Who did the selection of stories?
Well, the first initial kind of challenge for the selection of stories, before I answer that, it was that Comma Press has published a series of books called Books in the City. So it needed to be a book about Dhaka. So those stories had to be about Dhaka.
Set in Dhaka.
Set in Dhaka, exactly, but all from all sorts of different places in Dhaka and at different times. It was decided from independence right through to today. And so Aranava, Kaiser Haq, the director of the Dhaka Translation Centre, Neaz Ahmad, also involved with Dhaka Translation Centre, and a writer himself, and Ra all discussed in great detail what stories were available that hadn't been translated from Bengali into English, that were based around the city. And of course the challenge was, with Ra coming on board as well, he doesn't read Bengali, so Pushpita had to write synopses and Aranava synopses of the different stories. And so that process took longer than we'd hoped. And then...
How long did it take?
I think Pushpita might be better to answer that than me, but...
A couple of years, I think.
A few months, probably a few months. And then the stories were shared out with the 10 translators who'd been in the first workshop, and they started a first draft. And then we held a second workshop, editing and translation workshop, led by Ra Page from Comma and Aranava again. And that to get down to the nitty-gritty of actually translating those stories. But obviously in a week, there's only so much you can do. So there was a further extensive kind of back and forth editorial process with Aranava as the editor and Pushpita Alam as well, editing the book.
Yes,
and so we're very...
co-editors, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And
but
so
was there any specific requirement or consideration to which story did you select from Dhaka?
Sorry?
Was there any consideration, a special consideration for which story will be included in this?
Yes, yes. I think they all had lengthy discussions about which stories. As I say, wanted to show different aspects of the city. We also wanted to include women authors as well, and wanted to, as I say, stories
It had
that
to be
hadn't been
contemporary?
translated. There are some contemporary, there are some set in the past, and there are some which is hard to tell where they're set, in which period they're set.
But the background has to be the
But
city Dhaka.
It's the city of Dhaka, and so the cover, if you could
Yes,
show the
it's
cover.
it's a very nice cover, yes, I see.
Yes,
The
and
rickshaws and the mosque, tomb, and the temples and
again,
other things, yes.
yeah, that's one of sort of Comma Press's strengths. So that whole series have similar covers with iconic images of the city. And again, the second workshop, at the end of the workshop, Ra sat around with all the translators and said, what does Dhaka mean to you? What are the symbols of your city? So they all went into the cover as well.
Do you have any other project coming up, like the second book in the series, or?
So it's Comma Press's series, the Reading the City series.
But-
Not
but-
ours. So our project, the Kiswahili translation project, will hopefully follow the same format. They're keen to do that, and they're very keen to have a book come out of the project. So in Tanzania and Kenya, where the writers, the Kiswahili writers are, there's a lot of poetry and prose. So it's going to be a poetry and prose, most likely.
Yeah, great.
book.
I was going to ask you about this is all prose, but
Yes,
no
these-
poetry. See,
no,
but
these
there are
are-
a lot of poets in Dhaka.
There is.
They are budding and poets, and then there are established poets, and they would be wishing that somebody would translate them. And
Well, the next workshop at the Dhaka Translation Centre that they're organising is a poetry workshop. So, yes, you have to start. You have to
right,
start
yes, I
somewhere.
see.
And I'd also, may I say one more thing about our work
Yep,
in
sure,
translation?
sure.
The Commonwealth Writers has a Commonwealth Short Story Prize, which has always been open to stories in translation. But we realised, after we received very few entries in translation, that it's hard for writers, particularly unpublished writers who can enter the prize, to have good fiction translators for their work.
Right.
So we've opened it up to receive entries in original languages, and Bengali, of course, is one of those languages. So we invite people who write short stories in Bengali to submit their stories to us.
Are
And then the
there
best of
any
those...
particular requirements? I mean, the length, the
Yes.
setting.
No requirements on setting or theme, but they need to be between 2,000 and 5,000 words and unpublished stories. The writers may be published or unpublished. And the closing date is the 1st of November, so
That's not very far.
it's not very far. So Commonwealth Writers website.
I must sit down tonight to start writing.
Yes, yes, please. We always could do with some more Bengali stories.
And what is the prize? I mean,
The winners, okay, so the overall winner of the Commonwealth Short Story Prize receives £5,000, and we have 4 regional winners, and they
Right.
each receive 2,500.
and obviously the book will be it will be included in an anthology and it will be published. Is it?
Possibly, but the winners are published on Granta first, Granta Online, the magazine. So they're edited and put up on Granta, and we've had one short story collection published for 3 years, from 2012 to 14. So hopefully we will do the next 3 years.
For how long have you had
stories.
this prize for short story writers?
2012 it began. Yeah.
And what else are you involved in? I mean, apart from this, I know that this is your baby.
Yeah, short story and translation is my baby, as everybody at the Commonwealth Foundation will tell you. Those keep me quite busy, I have to say. Obviously, there's, meeting writers, and we have some partnerships. We have a partnership with the BBC playwriting competition.
What are you doing
As
for
well.
this book? I mean, promoting it and
Yes, so
traveling to different places. Last night you had at Whitechapel Library.
that's right. Comma Press have organised a tour for one of the authors of the book, Syed Islam, and one of the translators and editor, Pushpita Alam. And they were at the Whitechapel Idea Store in Whitechapel last night for a conversation. And then they're going to Manchester tomorrow and to be part of the Manchester Literature Festival, and to Ilkley the following day for the Ilkley Literature Festival. And that's a tour which has been supported financially by English
What is
Pen.
the publication date for this book in the UK?
26th of October.
So it's not been released yet.
I think it's on Common website at the moment. So
But not in the bookshops.
I don't know. I haven't seen them there yet, but we'll be looking. Yeah.
It was nice having you, Emma, and I wish you luck with all your project on Kiswahili rather. Kiswahili, yes.
Thank
I
you.
used to say Swahili because it's very close to Arabic. So.
Yes, yes, I'm really looking forward to learning a bit of Kiswahili.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us, and in the next two
you.
segments we will meet Pushpita, who is one of the editors of this collection. Thank you for being with us. I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation with Emma Da Costa from Commonwealth Foundation. She is the consultant and program officer. And we must take a commercial break here, and when we come back we will have Pushpita Alam, the editor of this collection of books of stories from Dhaka. Thank you.